Welcome back to Krail's Corner, episode number 12. Welcome back on, Coach Krail. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Here we are.
Regular season is over. Everything is done. Slate's clean. Records are null. Time to go, right?
It's time to go.
Great game against Menlo, though. What was it, 30-6?
30-6.
Great win. Boxer had an absolutely fantastic win. Over 1,000 yards, if I'm correct.
Right,
so that was a great milestone for him to hit. Henry Masters, 19 tackles, 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
Great game. But overall, everyone was firing on all cylinders. Both offensive, defensive lines looked good. Mm-hmm. Slow at the start. However, picked up real quick, and by the end of the game, it was like
it was good.
It was
better
than I've ever seen him. Yeah. Great QB play throughout. I think the past is behind us. Mm-hmm, Everything's good. I have a lot of faith in AJ Minyard to kind of roll right through this. Archbishop Riordan, 7 p.m. Friday night, correct?
That's correct.
All right. How do we feel about the game? Let's start with that. Are you confident going into it? It's going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just finished a nice championship season, right? Mm-hmm. We can't lose sight of that. But, the playoffs are a second season. And with our level of success as a program, it's almost inevitable that we end up with the big boys in Division I. So we're playing against Riordan, who's probably one of the best teams in the CCS, probably top 2 or 3, depending on, the ranking system and all of that. So it's a tall order, but we're good. I mean, our guys aren't going to back down. It kind of feels good to be the underdog. Normally we're not. And so certainly going into this game, we're the underdog, and they're battle tested. I think we are as well. I think they're very similar to Pittsburgh, who we played earlier in the year, and we came up short that night, but we had 4 turnovers and really did some things to allow that game to get away from us. So, again, the guys are excited. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a really great game. I have the bracket out here for us just to reference really quick.
Sure.
People at home, I suggest you go and look at this bracket. It's on the CCS website. Really kind of details what we're looking at here for the team. Yeah. So we play Riordan here. St. Ignatius and Valley Christian play in the same bracket as us Friday as well at SI. What are your expectations for that game looking at it?
I think that's a coin toss. They're in the same league. They played earlier this year. Valley was up 14-0 in the fourth quarter. Ended up giving up 2 late scores, and SI went for 2 and won the game. So that easily could have gone the other way, right? Mm-hmm. You just any given night. So they're very evenly matched. I think our 2 games on our end of the bracket are hopefully very competitive games, and it's win or go home at this time.
I think the bottom half of the bracket's a lot more competitive than the top half. The top half, it's looking to be Sarah and St. Francis coming out and playing for, what is it? They're the Open Division champion.
Right. They're probably the 2 best teams from start to finish, through the year. Sarah's been incredibly good with the number of returning players they have, and they just do a really nice job there. And so they're the team to beat. St. Francis is no slouch, but it'll be a tall order for them to get out of the Open. So the way this bracket works, it's a little bit new and unique this year. Yeah. The loser of that game will actually play for the Division I championship, which would occur against the winner of our 4 teams. So in other words, if we're lucky enough to beat Riordan and say Valley wins, the winner of that game would play the loser of potentially Sarah St. Francis for an at-large bid to the NorCal game.
Sure. Okay, so looking at CCS really, really quickly, we have to beat 3 WCAL schools in a row.
Most likely,
to win Division I.
Yeah, right.
No chance at Open, but if we win Division I, we go on to NorCal's, correct?
Correct.
Explain to me how NorCal's works for the people.
So NorCal, we have NorCal in multiple sports now. The one thing with football that's a little bit unique is that the state has told us that you have to be a section champion to advance to a NorCal regional game. All so volleyball, for example, our girls are moving on. They're playing right now in NorCal. They came up short in the finals, but NorCal is set up such that the top 2 teams go, I believe.
All right, okay.
Football, it's only the winner, right?
Yeah.
So for us to go, we'd have to beat 3 really good teams, and then we would be slotted somewhere in one of, I think it's 14 NorCal bowl games is what they are essentially. And they're kind of equity-based, so they try to do competitive equity when they do the matchups.
So there's no winner of NorCal. So you're just playing in sort of bowl games afterwards?
There's a winner. No, there's a winner, because if you win those NorCal games, then you would face a team from Southern California for a state bowl game.
Oh, okay.
So it does go beyond the 1 week. Our only taste, we went to Cardinal Newman in 2019.
Yeah.
And we got shellacked pretty good. But it was nice to win our section that year and then go into the NorCal and have that experience. It was a lot of fun.
I'd imagine it'd be a lot of fun. I'm hoping these guys can experience the same thing.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope
so let's narrow it down into Riordan really quick, just before we get ahead of ourselves and away too many weeks.
Of course.
So playoffs have been a tough time at Los Gatos High School the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Moving in these opening rounds. These opening rounds can sneak up on you quick. However, a lot of the guys out here in this team particularly have experience with that. They have older brothers that have done it. They've experienced it. They've lived it. The Garwoods, Spencer Berg's always been around the program, kind of one of those guys. So
yeah.
Really excited for that. How do the players take it emotionally? How do they work through their emotions? It's obviously nerve-wracking, but
yeah, you know, the last 2 years, again, the last 2 years are similar to what I think this year is going to be. Riordan is just like Bellarmine 2 years ago, just like Mitty last year, right? And so we had opportunities to win both of those games, and you know, sadly came up short in both of them in the last minute of the game, both times. Actually, the Mitty game was overtime. So, you know, we know we're facing a great opponent. So it's like you have to play your best game of the year. You got to take care of the ball. You got to tackle. You got to be assignment perfect, right? That said, we have a great chance if we do those things, right? And so our guys are not intimidated. I don't think they're going to go into the game afraid. I think they're going to go in the game with just we got nothing to lose attitude. And sometimes when you play a little bit loose like that, good things happen. You know, if we get too nervous and heap too much pressure on ourselves because of outside expectations, then sometimes the performance will not be as crisp. And you know, fortunately for us, I don't see that being the case this week. I think, again, being the underdog, you know, people would be surprised if we won, and so we'll take that position anytime. You know, it's on our home field, which is great. Hopefully, the student body turns out and the town turns out for a great Friday night.
I really hope for it. So Riordan throws the ball a lot in comparison to some other teams we've seen. What are the alterations to the game plan to kind of account for that extra throwing? Maybe there's some of those deeper balls, some of that stuff over the top that you want to.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Defensive football, no matter what the other team is doing, each player has an assignment.
Of course.
Right? We talked this about Wilcox, right? Where you just had to play the run perfectly, each guy, to be successful.
Of course.
And of course, we were that night. Riordan is the same challenge, but instead of running the ball, they're throwing the ball, right? So every guy has to stay within their lane and do their job. And so obviously you make adjustments, right? There's going to be fewer guys up near the line of scrimmage, right? So you play a little bit softer and you're a little more pass conscious, obviously, than you would be against a Wilcox, say, right? Now, we're experienced. Liberty threw the ball over the yard.
Of course.
Pittsburgh did as well. Grant had a good passing game. So we've played teams that have approached the game this way, and we've been right there in all those games. So, you know, it's just a couple minor things here and there. We are fairly healthy right now going in. You know, we've had a couple of season-ending injuries that are always sad. Yeah. But, you know, that happens in football. And so we didn't have anything to speak of with the Menlo-Atherton game. Everybody came out of there, you know, kind of beat up because it was a physical game. But there were no injuries that are going to hold guys out for this week. And then we've got some JV guys that have, come up, joined the team.
Let's talk about that really quick.
Sure.
I want to talk. List some of the guys. I'd love to give them a shout out for that.
Oh my gosh, Callan Schweitzer, Tyler Purcell, Hayden Benjamin, Garrett Birch. I mean, that's just to name a few. There's like 20 of them. But what they do is they inject a little life into practice, right? I mean, they come out with this just great enthusiasm, and they want to get out and impress, right? I mean, that's why they're there, to kind of get a feel for it, but also make an impression on their teammates to be and their coaches to be. And so it just adds a little juice to practice, and it's always fun to get the younger guys out there this time of year. So we look forward to that.
So you mentioned Wilcox ran the ball a lot. These guys are going to throw the ball a lot.
Right.
We've done both. Wildcats have run a game where it was maybe 5 passes or so, and we've run games where there have been more. What do you expect the balance to be like against some of these higher tier teams? Because against Grant and Liberty especially, throwing the ball was the only way to get going when they have these big defensive linemen, these big linebackers. So what do you expect the run to pass ratio to be?
That's a great question. Obviously, I'm a little bit old school. So if we can run the ball, I think that's very important in terms of succeeding in this game. number one, that keeps their offense on the sideline, right? And they're very explosive. So our job as an offense is to sustain drives, get first downs, keep that clock running, and then obviously finish into the end zone, right? So I don't see us changing what we've done. We're pretty close to 50-50 in terms of run pass. And I would anticipate that to be the case as well. We're going to try to establish the run. You know, I think that we can do some things. They're big, they're huge up front.
Yeah.
But our guys are pretty good and pretty tenacious, and they're going to get after them pretty well. So, you know, we're going to see about establishing the run, and then we throw the ball off our play action game and that kind of stuff with AJ and Jalen and Scotty and, you know, those guys, Owen Panu. So
really excited to see the team as it comes together here right at the end. I expect to have an episode next week talking about a game that will be following the episode.
Let's hope so.
That's the expectation.
Right.
Love to have you on again. Episode 13 we're looking at next week. Catch you there, Coach.
I'll be here. Sounds good.
See you guys next time.